Hello, Calvin Sibley here with Leads to Closings, and in this video I am going to be going over the Profit First formula for real estate investing. Now, Profit First is a concept that was written about in a book called Profit First by a guy named Mike Mahowski. And in the book, he outlines his strategy, what he came up with, which is that companies should pay themselves. They should take profit first before paying expenses and taxes and everything else. And so what he says in the book, which I highly recommend you pick it up, you can get it on Amazon, is what he says is that the traditional way that businesses operate is they have their gross income, then they pay their expenses and taxes and their owner's salary, owner's compensation, and then take profit. And what he says, the argument he makes, is that's actually backwards. That the way you should set it up is to take your profit first and then pay the other expenses of your business and taxes and the owner's compensation after. And so it's something that I don't see enough people talking about. In fact, I don't know of anyone who's talking about this where it applies specifically to real estate investors or agents even. There are other businesses that, there are YouTube videos and trainings for other types, other industries. But because with Leads to Closings, we work primarily with real estate investors and real estate agents, I thought this video would be helpful just to explain kind of an overview of the Profit First formula. So what is the Profit First formula? As I mentioned, it's written about in a book called Profit First, and it's essentially taking your profit first. So, he writes about the 5 bank accounts, right? The 5 accounts. So you have your income account, right? So you'll have your income account, and that's where all of the income your business generates goes into that account. And so this could also apply to people who have rental properties, or if you're doing fix and flip. Anybody who's in real estate investing who is creating income, right, who is getting income from that business, from your efforts, right, this applies to you, right? So it's 5 accounts, it's 5 bank accounts, and most people don't have 5 bank accounts, right? We didn't for years. We had our, our business checking account, we had our business credit card, we had our savings account, and then we had our personal checking account, and we would just do distributions to our personal account from our business account once a quarter, which is along the lines of what he talks about, but he teaches it in a little different way. All right, what he says is you have these 5 accounts. So the first account is income. That's where all your revenue, all your income goes into that account first. The second account is your profit, right? That's your profit. And that's exactly, that's pretty much it, right? Your income comes in, your profit is allocated, it's distributed to your profit account first, right? Before all your other expenses and everything else is paid. The third account would be your tax account. Your fourth account would be your operating expense account, we'll call it OPEX, right? The operating expenses that the business needs to pay for, right? And then you have the owner's comp. Which is owner's compensation, right? So those are the 5 accounts. And as I mentioned, it's 100% of your income comes into this account, right? Oh, not 10%, 100%, right? 100% goes into your income account, and then you transfer a percentage into each of these accounts. Okay, so why is this important to implement? Right? Well, there are a number of reasons. First of all, let's say you're new to wholesaling, for example. Let's say you want to get started in real estate. You're not really sure where to get started, so you pick wholesaling, which is what I recommend. Watch some of my other videos on my channel and you'll hear why I think wholesaling is a great way to get started. Low capital requirement, low risk, not a whole lot of knowledge needed by you. In fact, check out closingsmastery.com and I will teach you how to talk to sellers, how to negotiate contracts with sellers, and how to get those sellers to sign them. And just by taking that course, limited knowledge, if you just take that course, get on Leads to Closing, start picking up leads, start calling sellers, you're well on your way to your first deal. Okay, so let's say you pick wholesaling and you're gonna make 100% of your income, and that goes into your income account. And the first reason this is important is that let's say you're brand new and you implement this from your first check, right? Your first assignment fee. Let's say you make $10,000 and it goes directly into this account, right? And you implement this strategy. What that means, the first benefit, the first reason this is important is because your business is profitable from day one. All right. Another reason is you're making sure you're budgeting for your taxes, right? You're not just spending, okay, you make $10,000, you go spend it. Well, now at the end of the year, you owe the IRS. That can create some tax problems. You might owe the IRS some late fee penalties or payments. If you're not budgeting for taxes, that can get you into some trouble. And then operating expenses, another reason it's really important is you are reinvesting a percentage of your income back into the business, which forces it to grow. And I'm going to talk about the percentages in a second. And then owner's compensation, right? You're being paid a salary. You pay yourself a salary. Your business pays you a salary, what's fair, what's reasonable. And so you are getting paid a salary every time you make an assignment fee. That a percentage goes into your owner's comp. So those are some of the reasons why it's important. Now, how to use it? Well, I explained, first of all, you set up the 5 accounts, right? You can set up 5 accounts, and then what you do is you can transfer a percentage of your income into each account as it comes in. It can be the same day, it can be the next day, it can be once a week, once a month. I recommend the same day or the following business day the transfers are made into these other accounts. So our wholesaling business operates at about a 50% profit margin, right? Which is high, right? That's really high. For a lot of businesses, they are not anywhere near 50%. They would love to be at 50%. But the problem is typically their operating expenses are too high, right? That the business is a cash eating machine and it just eats up all of their revenue, all of their income, and there's not very little profit left over. And it's something like 95 or 97 businesses that are started in the United States go out of business within the first 5 years. And so why is that? These 100% of the businesses, it take 100 businesses. Well, obviously there was a reason why the owner started it. They believed in it. They thought it was a good idea. Maybe they had experience in the industry. As long as it's not a scam, they're not ripping people off, and they should go out of business. That 97% is way too high. They should be succeeding, right? They should be profitable, but they're not. And it's because I really believe this is the reason. This is the primary reason why many businesses just fail. They go out of business, right? So you've got 100% coming in, 50% profit, right? And then taxes, we put 20%, right? And with deductions and with having a good accountant, a lot of times at the end of the year, it can be even less than this. So that's kind of a bonus, right? If you've allocated, $20,000 for your taxes, if you make $100,000, but you only have to pay 15 because of your deductions and having a good accountant, maybe you have a child tax credit or some kind of other credit, you may only have to pay $15,000. Now you've got an extra $5,000 at the end of the year, and you're not worrying about the IRS, right? You budgeted for paying your taxes. And then OPEX, we also put, say, 20%. So 20% of every dollar that comes in, let's say, or any amount of revenue, is being reinvested into the business. And that's the key to having your business grow, right? If you make a $10,000 assignment fee, you put $2,000 back into your business. And these operating expenses for a wholesale business can be very minimal, right? There's not a lot of capital required. I mean, you don't need an office. We have an office, but if you're getting started, you don't need one. You don't need a fancy office. You don't need a fancy website, right? You could do this from home. When I started, I was working in Starbucks. I would go to Starbucks. I would go to a coffee shop. I would work from home. I didn't have an office. Eventually, we did get one because our team was growing and we needed the space. But that could really a big percentage of that could go back into marketing, right? So you could take that $2,000, maybe put 1,000 or 1,500 back into leads, buy some more leads from leads to closings, and get your next deal. But that's the key. And then owner's comp would be 10%, right? And so here's where it gets a little bit challenging for people, and where people might say, well, this just doesn't work for me, my expenses are too high. But this is where the Profit First formula really makes you look at your finances. It makes you pause for a second and say, hey, where's my money going? Why am I spending this much? And a simple thing to do is you could simply just look at, okay, how much revenue did my business generate, and what are my expenses? What are my living expenses? Or what are my business expenses, right? And then take that amount, divide it by your total, and that gives you the percentage. So these actually aren't what what Mike writes about in the book. His numbers are a little different, but this is what we use. So you could look at this. Let's take an example deal, right? Let's say you make $10,000, right? You're making a $10,000 assignment fee. Which, if you know what you're doing, you're talking to sellers, that's, you're running comps well, you know how to value the property, you're good on the phone. That is very realistic. You can make that, it's a very reasonable amount. It's not a too big of amount for this example. We've done deals 10, 20, 30 times that, but for this example, we'll say $10,000. Now, 50%, right, will go into your profit account. Okay, so you transfer $5,000 into your profit account. Now, you can't spend that, right? That account is not designed to be spent. It's not meant to be spent on operating expenses or paying you. Essentially, what you do is, the idea is you leave that in the profit account, and then once a quarter, right, every quarter, one time a quarter, if that makes sense, right, you take the profit. But you only take 50%, right? So if you do one deal every 3 months, you got, $30,000 in your profit account, and then once a quarter, the day after, so the first day of the following quarter, you would take that, it would be 15,000 divided by 2, you take 7,500, and then you transfer it to yourself. Now, what you do with that, what I recommend you do, is you reinvest that into assets, right? You can buy assets with that. That's how you build long-term wealth. This is really a long-term wealth building formula, right? And if you could read books, Profit First, obviously I mentioned, but The Millionaire Mind, right, by Thomas Stanley. It's really about, keeping your expenses down, living below your means. And if you're able to live on 10% of what your business is generating, you can save and invest a huge amount of money every year, which will build your net worth. But the key is to keep your expenses down, right? So your taxes, that would be $2,000. Okay. And we pay it quarterly. Paid per quarter to the IRS, right? So once a quarter, we're taking our profit distribution, and we're paying the IRS. Just because that's how we do it. Instead of paying it all at the end of the year, we make quarterly payments. That you can talk to your accountant about that. And then 20% is invested back into the OPEX account, right? And see right there, that shows you how this is how it'll grow. This is how it's intentional. It's not like you're just making a bunch of money and then whatever expenses you have to pay, you pay. You intentionally plan, okay, I know I'm going to reinvest 20% of what I make, and it forces your business to grow. So this can be things like buying leads, right? It could be things like, paying for your office, right? Your car, which can be a tax deduction, your phone, and other operating expenses, right? Software, for example. All right. And then owner's comp, right, is $1,000. Okay. And now you may be saying, well, Calvin, my expenses are way more than $1,000 a month. I have a 2-bedroom apartment. It's $2,000 a month. That's only half. Well, that's what you have to look at. And you can look at that and you can say, okay, if I'm only going to live on 10% of what I'm making, then, I either need to be making more or I need to be spending less. But that's what this is really designed to just get you to start thinking. Start thinking like someone who is intending to build long-term wealth, right? And so the other thing you could do is use that profit and use that for some of your expenses, right? So if you're saying, well, my expenses are much more than $1,000 a month, okay, well, if you using the example of $10,000 a deal, one deal a month, that's $30,000 per quarter divided by 2, which is 50%. It's $15,000 divided by 2 is $7,500. So you can add that, right, and you can live on the profit of the business also. But what I recommend is what you really want to do is try to invest that into assets that will build your net worth over time. All right, so I hope this was helpful. I'm going to give you one more tip, which is Relay Bank. Okay, and Relay Bank, I recommend using them. We use them. I'm not affiliated with them. I'm not compensated by them in any way by mentioning them. But Relay Bank, what they do is they actually worked with Mike, the guy who wrote Profit First, and they set it up where you can set up automatic transfers. It's called an auto transfer rule. So every time income comes in, you can set it up where every day these percentages, 100%, 50, 20, 20, or 10, whatever you end up setting up, they're automatically transferred into your accounts, right? But this is how you build a healthy business, a profitable and healthy business, really, because again, the reason you're only taking 50% here is you are leaving a certain amount of the $5,000 in reserves. So your business always has a certain amount of reserves in case of an emergency. Maybe you go a few months without closing a deal. But this is it. This is a quick overview of the Profit First formula. I recommend check out the book, Profit First. Check it out on Amazon. And make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more real estate investing content. Check out Leads to Closings, which is a free online marketplace where you can browse motivated seller leads in your area. There's no cost to sign up. There's no commitment to buy, but you can check out motivated sellers in your area who are looking for a cash offer. And I want to thank you for watching this video, and I will see you on the next one.